Well, hello everyone. We are back out here in Berea, and this was actually technically the last practice of training camp. When we get back out here on Wednesday, they will be in more of their regular season schedule. We will only be watching practice for 15 minutes instead of 2.5 hours. And so, we've seen the most that we are going to see. Now, today, when we looked out there, of course, Johnny Manziel not practicing. He's still resting that sore elbow, but they don't seem too concerned.
Well, no, I mean, but of course the issue is this is the second time that he's gone through this, so it does wonder if this is going to continue to be a problem. The Browns think that it's okay. He's not had an MRI. Their other point is that after camp, the kind of the pitch counter, the number of throws that he will be making will go down, so maybe it'll just a little bit of rest will take care of it.
And, we did get a chance to talk to John DeFilippo, the offensive coordinator, today about it, and he mentioned that he believes that Johnny's elbow soreness is directly tied to his three-quarter release. But he did say, first of all, they view his release as part of the reason he gets the ball out so fast and part of the reason for his success in this game of football. They have no plans of changing it whatsoever, but they do know that because of that release, it puts undue strain on the elbow. So this is something that Johnny's just going to have to deal with.
Yeah, it was interesting to listen to DeFilippo talk about. Usually from the waist up, there's not a whole lot you can do. You can help guys with their mechanics and their footwork and that kind of stuff, but by the time you get to the pro level, you pretty much are what you are. And we've seen teams trying to help Tim Tebow change his mechanics. There's not a whole lot you can do.
Yeah, at this point, it's pretty ingrained, and whatever they're going to get from Johnny, they're going to get like we've all seen at Texas A&M and what we saw out here. So something that they're going to have to manage with ice, with treatment, and whatnot. But I personally think it's a little bit of a concern because first of all, he's only 22. Second of all, he's only started 2 years in college. And then, there were 4 quarterbacks out here all of camp, and they were dividing the reps up. So it's not like he had to take an undue amount of reps. So I do think it's something to keep an eye on as we move forward. Now, we also talked to the coordinators, Jim ONeill. We talked to him about Justin Gilbert today. You're working on a story about him. What's your take on the whole Justin Gilbert story?
Well, I'm not saying that we haven't talked about this before, but I think this was the most expansive Jim ONeill has been about how much he has struggled with his technique and how much that he still has to learn to trust the coaching of the technique. Mike Pettine expanded on it a little bit. Sometimes he's doing it right in practice, but he doesn't trust it enough to do it in games, and this is where he's getting himself into trouble. So they're trying to improve his technique. And to me, it's very interesting when you look back, and the fact is the kid himself, they didn't use a whole lot of technique in college, and it does beg the question, whether they should have looked at that and invested such a high pick on a guy who was just kind of getting by on athleticism.
Well, backpedaling was an issue of his coming out of college, but I'm sure that these guys probably thought that with the great secondary coaches that they have, and they do have a really, really nice staff here for the defensive backs, I think they felt like they could coach him up on those kinds of things. But it's taking him a while to get it, and we'll have to see how this works out as they go along. Terrell Pryor not out here again today, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to play in the game in Tampa. They still have 2 practices left, and they'll probably put the pads on for those practices. He has got to get out here on Wednesday and Thursday and play in this game.
Yeah, this is one of the times where the schedule is actually in his favor, because if this was a Thursday game, there's no way he'd probably play. But the fact that he can, if he can get back out here Wednesday and Thursday, it'll give them a chance to maybe play Thursday, in which what most people consider is the most important scrimmage.
Right, and there were defensive backs all over those exercise bikes again today, but Mike Pettine is hoping to get a lot of those guys back on Wednesday, and he says if you're back in practice on Wednesday, there's a pretty good chance that you will play in the game on Saturday night, again, the dress rehearsal game. So we've got the off day tomorrow. We'll be back out here on Wednesday, and we will have it all right here for you on cleveland.com.